Hey everyone, welcome to the Political Insider. I'm your humble host, Brett Smith. Joining me today is a special guest and a good friend. Sebastian Gorka is a former special advisor to President Trump. He's also the host of the America First show for the Salem News Channel and the host of the Gorka Reality Check every Sunday on Newsmax. Seb, great to see you.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
First, let's tackle this bizarre video we got from Biden announcing his re-election last week. Usually, we get some kind of exciting live event where a president announces they want 4 more years while boasting about their achievements over the first 4 years. But this video from Biden was really different. What was your first impression?
Well, it was surreal. Not only did it not mention any accomplishment from the preceding 2 years, it was demagoguery. It was painting Republicans as the threat to democracy, at the same time that the administration he heads is using the DOJ, the FBI as political weapons. At the same time that there are people from the January 6th demonstration who are still being held without trial in a political gulag not far from where I'm sitting. So it was surreal, but it's, I guess, what you expect from an elite that hates America and is utterly out of touch with the life of the average American.
Yeah, his tagline at the end of this video was "Let's finish the job." Considering that Biden, basically restarted the decline of America in his first term, which Obama started, would it be wrong to assume that Biden and Democrats are committed to the demolition of America first before we can quote build back better?
Well, I mean, finish the job of destroying America and the U.S. Constitution. If you just look at, the figures for the open border, the literal millions of illegal immigrants that have crossed into America, and that shocking story of one of them who'd been deported multiple times, killing 5 people, including a little child in one of these colonias in Texas.
Right.
Yeah, that's the kind of job they wish to finish. We live in a very strange time, my friend. We live, Brett, in a time where the political elite that runs the country actually hates the country that they are in charge of. It's perverse. We've never seen this before in Western civilization, that those who make the decisions actually hate the country they are meant to be leading. So if you ask yourself one very simple question, would you do anything differently if your goal were to destroy America? And the answer is shockingly no.
Yeah, yeah. Every time I see Ali Mayorkas's face, I'm just, it just enrages me because these are people, like you said, that openly hate the country. I mean, it's blatantly obvious. Um, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is challenging Biden for the presidency on the Dem ticket, and he's polling in the 19 to 20% range, which is funny enough. That's higher than where Ron DeSantis is polling in relation to Trump. Recently, we saw polls, and I think it was Zogby that said 70% of Americans don't want Biden to run for reelection. Does RFK Jr. have an opportunity here to do some real damage to Biden going into the general, even though Biden has said he's not going to be participating in any debates against any Dem challengers?
Well, how do you have a primary if the incumbent isn't going to be involved in any debate? So
Right.
he's a kind of, he's a disturbance in the force on the left, if you will. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have any institutional capacity to destabilize an incumbent. I mean, going up against an incumbent, whether it's a governor, whether it's the president, is always very, very challenging. And if the incumbent refuses to engage at all, then really you're a fly in the ointment, but you're not much more than that. But it's stunning that a person who has a very serious, I think it's a health-induced
Mm-hmm.
speech impediment, is almost 20 points favorability with Democrat voters. That's not a good sign for Biden or the DNC.
Yeah, I think RFK's Jr.'s deal, he's got kind of a voice impediment, sort of like Scott Adams has, where it's I think it's some kind of autoimmune disease or something,
Yes.
and it's I think he has kind of good days and bad days. When I see him speak, there seems to be days where it's really tough for him, and other days where it's a little bit easier. But and I don't agree with anything with him other than his criticizing of COVID and kind of the pharmaceutical industrial complex and their way that they've had with us, over the past couple of years. But it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
It will.
Scott Pressler has been working in not just blue but also red states to organize a national ballot harvesting initiative for Republicans. And he's also been reaching out to RNC chair Ronna McDaniel for help, or at least to coordinate with her on this. she's decided to ignore him from what I've seen. That said, do Republicans win the White House without a robust national ballot harvesting organization equal to or greater than what the left has?
Oh, I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, Scott Pressler is a hero who's done more for election integrity in America than anyone else, and I include, attorneys general, lieutenant governors, and any governor. And this is the big challenge. I have two fears when it comes to 2024. The one that plagues me every single day is the lack of a serious bench. We have 4,000 presidential appointees you have to put in place day one. And we need to make sure that not only do we have those people, but we have a filter system whereby the seditionists, the traitors, the saboteurs like General Kelly don't get to the highest positions inside the administration. I mean, we had, it pains me to say this, a former Marine Corps general like Kelly as chief of staff who was actively sabotaging the will of the American people and the president every single day from inside the White House. We cannot allow that to happen again. But first, we have to win. And President Trump was very right where he said, what was it, 2 weeks ago in his Truth Social video, that we, in those states where we can't fix it, that there is no ballot harvesting, and we can't fix it, that there's 6 weeks of voting and not an election day, we have to ballot harvest. We have to out-organize the left. And Ronna McDaniel doesn't give a damn. She still gets paid the big bucks. She still gets, flown around on a private jet, whether she wins or loses. So, yeah, it's going to be up to local actors and people like Scott Pressler to try and secure this election from a party that, let's be honest here, has been doing this since, Joe Kennedy got his son elected to become the president. We joke. Can we just stop for a second and be clear? We joke. Americans joke about elections being stolen in places like Chicago, Philly, Baltimore, Detroit. We've been joking about that for more than 40 years. That's a problem. This isn't, Bangladesh. This is America. We need to fix this, and it might be up to people like Scott Pressler.
Yeah. You mentioned President Trump. He recently stated that he's thinking of skipping the Republican debates because he said they're, quote, rigged on account of the moderators. Is this a good idea, given the debates could be an opportunity for Trump to connect with some of those suburban moms who voted for Biden in 2020 who might not like the current results that they're getting from his policies? And moreover, what can Trump benefit from skipping the debates?
Well, look, I was discussing exactly this topic with Alex Marlowe on the Breitbart Sirius channel this morning. Tactically and even strategically, it makes sense for the president to skip the early debates. Why? Because if the minnows eat each other, then his chances increase, right? He the only person who resembles a even quasi-serious threat is DeSantis, and he's polling 30 to 40 points behind the president. But if you have a Vivek Ramaswamy, destroy DeSantis in an early debate when President Trump isn't there over his double standards on Disney, that's good for the president. So I understand it from the pollsters or the strategists advising the president. But on the flip side, I don't like it. I like seeing the primaries. I thought 2015 was massively fun, and B, it's a little bit kind of why wouldn't you be there? Why listen to just the tacticians and the advisors? Let the American people see the return of President Trump. So I get it that things are rigged, and having left-wing news organizations host it, and organizations very close to the Washington Post. I totally concur with that, but I think President Trump can deal with that.
Oh, totally. Totally. I agree. I mean, he's going on CNN for some town hall I read today. So, why not show up for the debates? And, like you, I loved the primaries back in 2015. It was Thunderdome. I mean, it was a brawl, and it was so much fun. It was Larry Schweikert and I were talking about this. It was sort of a departure from the sort of kindler, gentler politics that we had sort of post Nixon. And it was a return to real smash mouth politics. I mean, he called Carly Fiorina a horse face. He said, he made fun of Rand Paul's hair. He said Ben Carson had a pathological temper because he tried to stab his friend. And then he talked about, like, Ted Cruz's dad being involved in some conspiracy to assassinate JFK. I mean, he just laid waste to everybody. And I don't think that he needs to necessarily come into this next primary in the same manner, but at the same time, I loved the fact that we had a president who went into the debates, or a candidate went into the debates and came out, I think, far more powerful and sharp. And I mean, he really honed his edge in those debates. And
Well, yeah, and it was enjoyable. It was fun to watch.
yeah, it was. It was so much. It was so much fun. And this is really interesting. Samuel Alito said that he's pretty sure who leaked the Dobbs decision, and it wasn't a conservative. He also said that the leaker made the Supreme Court justices targets of assassination. Do you think that we'll ever find out who this leaker is, and will they face justice?
But we know who it is. Right out, I think, like in the first 2 weeks, by process of elimination and by looking at LinkedIn profiles and prior publications, Will Chamberlain identified it. So the former publisher of Human Events, I can't. It's a female clerk's name working for one. I think it's Breyers, the Democrat justice. And if you look at her really rabid pro-abortion stances prior becoming a clerk for the Supreme Court, it's obvious that this female radical crazy was the leaker. Will there be any justice? No, there won't. I mean, you'd need to have a Department of Justice that actually stands for justice and doesn't, prosecute and persecute pro-life pastors simply because they're defending their 12-year-old child. So look at the Mark Hout case. Look at what's happening to school board meeting attendees, parents being targeted by the FBI using tools from the Patriot Act. So no, there will be no justice until we take over the executive and we clean out the most corrupt agency in America, which is the Department of Justice.
Yeah, I'm rewatching the first couple seasons of Narcos, which are the best, the ones where they go after Pablo Escobar. And I noticed in an episode the other night that the judges in South America wear black masks because they fear retaliation from the narco terrorists. And I'm thinking to myself, if there's no justice for this leaker, do we have an America in the future where Supreme Court justices are wearing black masks to protect their identity?
Well, yeah, but there's a big difference between those two things. They're hiding their faces because they want to do the right thing and convict the bad guys.
Right.
The judges in America mostly don't want to. I mean, they don't need the masks because they don't fear retaliation because they're on the side of the radicals. They're on the side of Antifa. When you see people say, President Trump failed to prove his case about election fraud in 2020, no, because 99% of the judges refused to even hear the evidence that was being provided. And I remember this conversation I had offline with Mayor Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani. He's a former prosecutor who put 5 mafia dons in prison and then became the mayor of New York. And he said this, you can say it's naive, but I can relate to it. He said, even if I were a liberal judge, I'd just be curious. What evidence does Rudy have? What evidence does President Trump have? Just show it to me. Yeah. But no, you have no standing. No, you're too late. You can't, they just didn't even listen to the evidence. So, yeah, the judiciary is a problem that's going to be even harder to fix than the DOJ.
Yeah, true. All right, last question. This is a fun one. What was the last movie you saw or TV show that you can recommend to our viewers?
Last TV show, started watching something last night, this funky, my wife found it, I can't remember the title, it's like one word, it's a French-Japanese co-production based on a manga, and I was like, thank you, I'm not interested in manga, but it's very funky. It's about a woman estranged from her father who suddenly dies and leaves the world's biggest collection of expensive wine worth over $1 billion, and she has to go on some trial of skills against her late father's kind of initiate follower to see which one of them will inherit this fortune. Now that was funky because I like things with a good concept. If you grab me with a funky concept, then I'm in. Movies, well, every Monday on my radio show, we have an hour called Making Movies Great Again, where I review movies with a buddy from California, a former actor. And the last time, it was perhaps one of the greatest movies ever made in the science fiction genre. It was The Wrath of Khan.
Easily the best Star Trek of all time. It's just legendary. It never tires. I don't know how many times I can watch that. I've got the director's cut on Blu-ray, which also has Nick Meyer, the director's audio commentary, which is fascinating because he came in.
A man who'd never seen an episode of Star Trek when he was given the job.
I was just going to say that. That's what's so amazing. Sometimes it takes somebody who's never seen it to come in and just add a fresh take. He also brought it kind of back down to sort of military and submarine warfare.
Yeah,
and you really get that, especially when they go into the nebula. And
he said, "This is Hornblower. This is a naval engagement between Nelson and the French, and he nailed it."
Yeah. Speaking of Nelson, I've got Master and Commander poster behind me. That's one of my favorites of all time. I just watched The Bounty, which is Peter Weir, the same guy that did Master and Commander. I had never seen that before. I'd seen parts and pieces of it, but I finally watched it. It just blew my mind. It's so good.
That's Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yeah, and Mel when he was basically still kind of an unknown, it's I guess it's based on the Mutiny on the Bounty, which is the famous book, and the ending's fascinating. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but I don't know how I missed that, but there's very little that Peter Weir does that's not just absolutely excellent, and I don't know why that guy doesn't work more. I wish he would.
Well, because these things don't make money. If you look at Master and Commander, that was an absolute masterpiece. I mean, the fact that they actually rebuilt a galley from scratch using the ancient technology, and they had people around the world when they were supposed to be in the Galapagos. They'd have somebody in the Galapagos take 5K footage of the color of the water, send it back to Peter so Peter could make sure that when they're supposed to be in this part of the world that they're not in, the shade of the ocean is correct. So if you haven't seen it, Critical Drinker, an amazing movie reviewer, actually had the star of Master and Commander on his show for about 20 minutes. And they actually, with Russell Crowe, they basically discussed mostly that. So massively underrated movie that deserves a rewatching.
Absolutely. That movie was so amazing to me that I went out and bought and read, I think, the first 6 of the Patrick O'Brian books, just because I wanted more. I wanted more of these characters because they're so fantastic. The books are great. I highly recommend them. What do you think about Ridley doing a Gladiator sequel? No Russell this time.
No. Why? Why are you doing it, dude? Just rest on your laurels. Keep smoking those big cigars. Don't do it. I mean, seriously, there's some things. It's like, do you do a sequel to Casablanca, Brett? Do you?
I wouldn't touch it, man. I just, there's just certain things you just don't touch.
No, I don't. It was bad enough when they did a sequel to Blade Runner, which, to give him credit, wasn't awful. It was pretty, but it was, in comparison to the original one, it was soulless. It was just pretty and soulless. But Gladiator is a world. It's complete. It's done. He's died. He's in the Elysian fields. Why would you mess with that?
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to his Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix. That's going to be fun.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. That we have high hopes for, but Ridley, don't do Gladiator.
Well, sadly, we're out of time. Seb, go ahead and give everyone your social media coordinates so everyone knows where to find you and what you're up to.
Yeah, you can find me everywhere except on that fascist platform, YouTube. So just look for Seb Gorka or Sebastian Gorka. The website is Seb Gorka or Sebastian Gorka. I'm on True Social, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And my daily radio show, you can actually watch it. It's on Rumble, so just look for Sebastian Gorka America First on Rumble. And for exclusive stuff from me, you just go to my Substack, which is my name is one word, sebastiangorka.substack.com.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, brother. Really appreciate it. Good to see you.
God bless. Thanks. Keep doing what you do.